When I first inherited the old, rust-eaten car, I didn't think much of it. It wasn't the kind of inheritance anyone dreamed of. The paint was peeling in strips, the windows were fogged with age, and the doors groaned every time they were opened. But when you're 21 broke, and carrying years of memories shaped by racism and survival, even an old car can feel like a piece of solid ground. That night, when I had nowhere else to go, I curled up in the back seat. I told myself I would only sleep there for one night, but as the hours passed and the quiet wrapped around me, something felt unsettling, like the car was holding a secret. I didn't know then how right I was, or how deeply that secret would shake my life and force others to face truths they'd spent years burying. Life hadn't been gentle to me, not when it came to finding a place where I belonged. Growing up mixed in a small town meant I was always too much of one thing and never enough of the other. My mother told me the car belonged to my grandfather, a man she rarely spoke of. All I knew was that he lived his entire life refusing to acknowledge my existence because of my father's race. When he died, leaving me this car and nothing else, my mother seemed confused but said nothing. I didn't question it either. I simply took the key, climbed inside, and tried to piece together the version of myself that wasn't constantly running from the judgment of others. The car smelled faintly of old tobacco and dust. The upholstery had thinned from age, and the roof sagged slightly. But there was something comforting about the worn edges, like the car had lived a long, complicated life too. As I settled in for the night, the street lamp outside cast a soft glow through the windows, and I finally allowed myself to breathe. The quiet was something I hadn't experienced in a long time, but it didn't stay peaceful. A cold draft seeped through the vents and carried with it the scent of something metallic. I shifted, trying to get comfortable, when my elbow brushed against something beneath the seat. Something hard, something that didn't feel like part of the car. I paused, suddenly alert. The sensation lingered in my mind long after I convinced myself to sleep. The next morning, the curiosity gnawed at me. I pushed the seat forward and reached underneath. My fingers brushed against the object again. A small metal box, wedged tightly against the frame. Pulling it out required force, but once it slid free, my breath caught. The box was old, dented, and secured with a simple latch that broke open with ease. Inside, layers of folded paper filled the space. The top sheet was yellowed and brittle, covered in handwriting I instantly recognized from old family records. It was my grandfather's. Beneath the papers were photographs, dozens of them, and among them was a picture that changed everything. A photo of my father as a young man, standing next to my mother, long before I was born. The shock pressed against my chest. Why would my grandfather keep these hidden? Why bury proof of a connection he always denied? The deeper I dug, the darker the truth grew. The papers were letters, unsent apologies, admissions of guilt, and confessions of actions I had only heard whispered about in the community. My grandfather had spent decades trying to make amends for the harm he caused. He documented the names of people he discriminated against, the opportunities he stole, and the hateful choices he made. Among the stacks, I found a letter addressed to my mother. In it, he admitted that rejecting her and my father was his life's greatest mistake. He wrote that he thought about writing or visiting, but never found the courage. He locked the letters away and hoped that someday they would find their way to the person who needed them the most, me. The shock left me frozen. The injustice my family endured because of his actions wasn't something a simple apology could mend. Generations of damage lived in those papers. But part of me recognized the weight of a man who died with remorse. As the day passed, I realized the letters didn't just belong to me. They were a record of the truth, an acknowledgement long overdue for the people he hurt. I knew I had a choice. Bury his secrets the way he had, or bring them to light and risk tearing open wounds many believed were healed. My decision came crashing into reality when my mother and father heard what I found. Their expressions told me everything. A mixture of pain, disbelief, and unspoken questions hung in the air. The history they fought to move past was now staring at them through the fragile pages of an old metal box. And yet, beneath their fear was something else, a glimmer of relief. For years, they had been forced to carry the burden of someone else's prejudice. Now the truth was finally theirs to show the world. The real turning point came when the letters were brought to the town council for review. The community was shaken. Many of the names in my grandfather's written confessions belonged to families still living there. Some had long suspected foul play, while others dismissed their experiences as exaggeration. Seeing the handwritten evidence stirred a storm that couldn't be ignored. The council demanded a formal acknowledgement of the past, and for the first time in decades, people began speaking openly about the racism my grandfather helped uphold. As the room filled with voices, some trembling, some angry, some exhausted, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The old car, once a symbol of abandonment, had become a catalyst for truth. My grandfather's hidden words, meant for no one's eyes, now held the power to heal and expose, depending on how they were used. And although the weight of what I discovered wasn't easy to carry, I realized the car had found its way to me for a reason. By the end of the hearings, the town had committed to measures that would protect future generations from experiencing the injustices my family and many others endured. It didn't erase the past, but it forced the community to confront it honestly. As for me, I no longer saw the car as a burden. It was a reminder that hidden truths eventually find their way into the light, no matter how deep they're buried. That night, I sat once more in the car, the letters resting on the seat beside me. The air felt warmer, almost forgiving. I closed my eyes, thinking about the generations before me. Those who suffered silently, those who fought loudly, and those who never saw justice served. The question lingered in my mind. How many stories remain hidden, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover them? And how many lives could change if the truth was finally told?